Really excited to have you here. I hate doing interviews, by the way. I think I told you last time I love conversations. You're visiting the mighty, beautiful Johannesburg. And I really appreciate at short notice you willing to come and have a conversation with me. You're becoming one of my favorite mates, which makes a lot of woke, conscious black people hate me so much. But I just want to say thanks for joining us.
Always happy to be here, Pen.
Yeah.
And I love our chats, even on camera and off camera.
Yeah, thank you very much. You came to visit your parents. How are they doing?
Dad turned 96 a few days ago.
Jeez.
I know.
That's a blessing, by the way.
That is a blessing.
That's a huge blessing.
And we wandered around the garden, wandered around the house, had proper chats. I mean, he's incredible. He's incredible.
You'd never move back to Joburg, considering you were born here?
I know you think I'm talking crap, but I love Joburg.
Yeah.
I've always loved it. And I like the smells, and I like that air, and I forget
like the crime.
how big it is. I forget how big it is. No, I don't like it. Well, I've never encountered the crime.
Really?
Personally, no.
That's awesome.
My brother was held up at gunpoint 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times, once in our house. And Dad's had a few issues. I've never had any.
Sure.
Maybe I look like I'm not worth robbing.
Rob, not worth robbing. I want to take it back because I know you're currently passionate about the future of this country and politics and those things, but a lot of people actually don't know your family legacy. I think some of us who have done the research and who know, we take it for granted. Your grandfather, if you can please tell us about that, the business is built. Just in summary, the business is built and where that business is today.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you quickly on my mum's side.
Sure.
My mother's great-great-grandfather was a British Army officer in the Indian Mutiny campaign in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And he retired and came to South Africa.
Okay.
And he didn't get involved in the Boer War. I think he was by then getting a little bit old.
Sure.
And that's my mum's side. So they came here then. My dad's side left Russia through Lithuania. That was the
you're
Jewish
Russian.
side of the family.
You're Russian?
No, I'm South African. But they left that side and then they made their way down. They splintered around the world, like a lot of the Jews that were escaping Russia, and ended up here. And my grandfather, Bob Hersov, was one of a number of brothers, and they could only afford to send one of them to university. And he went to university, did mining engineering. And when he left and when he left university, he met his buddy, a stockbroker called Slip Mennell.
Okay.
The father of Clive Mennell.
Okay.
The grandfather of...
Please say that again.
Slip Mennell.
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 Yeah, so the
Because I always say Manel.
Yeah,
it's Mennell.
I think their name was originally Grodzinski.
Jeez.
First time you've heard that.
Grodzinski. You're reminding me of Mark Rich. You know Mark Rich?
I met him before he died.
Really?
In San Moritz.
Because his surname used to be Reich, I think. And then when he moved to America, he changed it.
Yeah, but ours must have been Hershovitz or Hirsch, or we have no idea. They changed the name.
Makes sense.
As you walk in, his name was Mendel Grodzinski.
Jeez.
And they just wrote down Mendel, and that was it. That was their name.
That's interesting. I just want to point out, because a lot of black South Africans have taken on like Afrikaans surnames.
Yeah.
Some have got the calendar, January, October. So we assume it's just a black thing, this thing of changing surnames. And it seems a lot of people, whether it's Home Affairs or whoever, also lose some of their heritage in the surname change.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's really where the families came from. So Bob Hersov, mining engineer, Slip Mennell, founded AngloVaal. And AngloVaal was originally a mining company.
Okay.
And my grandfather said, if there's a mine here and a mine here and a mine here, there's probably a reef. They're probably connected.
Yeah.
They're not individual mines. So he bought up rights between mines and started mining. And Rand Leases was one of the first mines that he got the rights for and mined and took public. He had nothing. They had no money.
How did they get into mining? So he's a mining engineer.
He was a mining engineer. So
Slip?
And Slip was a stockbroker.
It was through the industry.
Yeah, Slip was a stockbroker.
And
so the two of them then formed AngloVaal, driven mainly by my grandfather.
Okay.
But his best friend, Slip, was 50% partner.
Made a lot of cash?
And no, I think they had some failures.
Okay.
They actually listed a company that failed and ended up giving the money back to the investors, which is an incredible story to hear. But bottom line is they got into mining first and it took off. Their timing was good. They were hardworking. And, that was in the mid-30s. But at the same time, my grandfather got the rights, the Fischer-Tropsch process for South Africa from the Nazi German government. And I have the original document, grandfather's signature, Nazi stamp, Fischer-Tropsch process, which was the beginning of Sasol.
That link doesn't taint your grandfather in any way? I mean, anyone who reads that says, "Oh, your grandfather was working with Nazi Germany."
No, you just licensed to technology from him. So he did, not working with Nazi.
Sure.
Remember, in the 30s, you knew trouble was coming.
It's important to clear that up because people just pick up those kind of taglines.
No, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Yeah. He licensed the technology, and he basically founded Sasol. So in addition to AngloVaal, founded Sasol. And AngloVaal then, from the 30s, 40s, 50s, became one of the bigger mining industrial companies. He was a landlord. He had a huge house on the West Cliff.
Sure.
Still there.
Amazing homes that side, by the way.
Amazing, yeah. And funny enough, the name of our house on West Cliff, the name of our house in Hermanus, Stonehage.
Yeah.
And if you've heard of a company called Stonehage Fleming, our family founded that as well.
That's beautiful.
One of the biggest private wealth companies in the world. We don't own a stake in it, but my uncle founded it in 1971.
That's beautiful. So AngloVaal became a huge success at some point?
Yeah, huge success.
Sasol became a huge success.
AngloVaal, at one point, the AngloVaal owned Baker's Biscuits, Five Roses, Pro Nutro, I&J, Rainbow Chicken, Consul Glass, Anglo Alpha. I can go on and on and on.
Jeez.
And Patrice Motsepi's African Rainbow Minerals was AngloVaal Mining. That was our mining.
This is where I was hoping the story would go to, by the way.
Yeah.
How did that happen? So you've got Bob Hersov, you've got Clive,
Bob and Slip.
You've got Slip, Menel.
Yeah.
They go and they found AngloVaal, becomes a successful mining company.
Mining and industrial.
Yeah. And then the industrial is the diversification.
Yeah. Cement, food, things like that. And then my grandfather, Bob, died of a minor heart ailment, age 58.
Jeez.
Young.
Was quite young.
Yeah. And then Slip took over. And so it's sort of gone between the families for many generations.
The families are still close?
The families, so my brother's wife is the sister of Brian Menel's wife.
Oh, geez, that's close.
Complete chance.
Yeah, that is
and there've been, marriages and relationships of the past, but we don't really hang out together.
You don't do business?
No, I mean, we're different animals. Get to the third generation and everyone's doing their own thing and it's different animals. But AngloVaal was broken up in 1993, 94.
Why?
Because my father was running the business.
Okay.
And Rick Menel, who'd had 6 years of experience in mining in Australia, had come back to South Africa and joined the company.
Was Rick the son of?
Rick was the grandson of the founder, Slip. There was Slip, Clive, Rick, and Brian, his brother.
Okay.
And Rick wanted to be next in line to run the business.
Sure.
So I was in New York working for Rupert Murdoch.
Hey.
In 91.
Big deal.
And my dad said, listen, if you want to come and run AngloVaal at any point in your life, you should come back now and get stuck in. And Dad, his first job was a trainee at a mine. He'd go down into the mines and, my father.
Whose idea was that? Was that your dad's or your grandfather's?
It was his dad, my grandfather. He
said,
you've got to learn from the bottom.
There's a beautiful story to tell there in that a lot of people assume if your father owns a huge business, you're just going to start off as a CEO. And there's something to tell about starting from the ground, not only to understand the operations, but also just to earn the respect of the other stakeholders you work with.
So my father worked for 40 years at AngloVaal. His whole career. And he went from the bottom right up, worked in the mines.
You came back?
So 91, 92, Rick's back in AngloVaal.
Sure.
And I get a letter from my father saying, if you want to come back, you come back now and get stuck in.
Sure.
And, I'd done a Harvard MBA. I was working for Rupert Murdoch. I was starting my view of creating my own life in my career. And I'd fallen in love with this beautiful Californian who I ended up marrying. And I sent my father a letter and it must have broken his heart. And I said, Dad, I just think South Africa is doomed. I just can't see it surviving.
Was this because the ANC was coming in?
No, because this was a bit before. This is before the ANC. Okay. This is, civil unrest, chaos, apartheid, and we were anti-apartheid.
There was a lot of fighting at the time.
Everyone says they were, by the way. We were.
Sure.
And, I never voted for the Nats, nor did my parents, and I never voted for the ANC. When am I going to get the government I want? Hopefully 2024. But that's another topic. So I said to my dad, I'm not coming back. I really want to continue with my life. And then he said, right, we'll split AngloVaal into mining and industry. The metals can take mining.
Okay.
we'll keep industry. And do you know AVI, listed on the stock exchange?
Yes, big company.
AngloVaal Industries. That's AngloVaal Industries. AVI.
Jeez.
Run by Simon Crutchley, my brother's best friend, who ran Consul, doing a very good job. And we still have, shares in that, not a large stake. My brother's on the board, I think.
What happened to the mining side? Because that's where now the Patrice story comes in. You guys were not involved when that happened.
We kept a small stake of that. So I think we did a better deal than the Menels, but hey,
sure.
That's lost in the rounding. They've done well individually. We've done well individually. It's been good. But then the company split. The families moved on, separated to do their own thing. AngloVaal Industries has been a huge success. And I don't know. Patrice should answer the question of whether Rainbow Minerals has been a success or not. I think. Put him on the game, but I think Sanlam was his big win, not the mining side.
Sure. I was walking. So I love being a tourist where I live. There's a hiking trail in Houghton called the Wilds.
Yeah.
And apparently that land used to belong. I don't know if the farmer was Grobler or whatever the surname, but eventually it got bought by Barney Panato, who was doing business with Cecil John Rhodes, the De Beers, and those guys. In reading that story, when he moved from Kimberley Diamonds to come and do gold in Joburg, he sold, I think, a stake of his business to Anglo American. And it looked like the reason he sold was to kind of protect himself from multinationals coming to eat him for breakfast. Later on, they would sell a stake of that to some of the BEE guys at the time. And it looked like a form of protection as well.
Yeah.
It's an unfair question to you, but do you think the Menel family and whoever was involved at the time, part of the deal with Patrice was your father, Augustine, is a big shot, especially politically. This is hopefully going to also help to protect some of our interests, working with people we kind of trust.
No question. But you remember when the Afrikaners started to gain power in the 30s and 40s in terms of population numbers, and you could see the mining industry, diamonds and gold, were controlled by the Anglos, Anglo-South Africans, okay?
The English.
And they allowed the Afrikaners to have union mining. They let them form union mining as a form of protection to make sure that they had a vested interest. And that's exactly what happened in 94. Before BEE, people said we should get in black partners, we should empower blacks, we should bring them on the board, make them CEO, train them up, give them big stakes in the economy to protect the capitalist economy. But it does,
Do you think it was a good idea now in retrospect, obviously?
Yeah.
You still believe it was a good idea?
What, for the Menels?
Specifically,
it wasn't our decision.
Not the Menels, sorry. Just the concept from business at the time saying, look, let's bring in black partners.
Yes.
That's where the BEE Act and the SILs and the guys
You've got to empower people. You've got to give people an incentive. You've got to give people a piece of the economy.
Sure.
If you have that complete separation, you're just looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there've been success stories in this country.
Yeah.
Unheralded.
Are you talking BEE deals?
No, I'm talking, forget BEE. I think BEE is a disaster.
Okay.
But there have been, and I hate talking racial terms, but we're
a racial country, so.
I don't want it to be a racial country, but anyway, there are black entrepreneurs and businessmen who, with zero help from anyone, have built unbelievable businesses.
Yeah. And you reckon that those are the stories we should be shouting from the rooftops?
Yes. Look, Patrice did extremely well. He wasn't given anything. He was smart enough to...
Was he not?
I don't know what deal the Menels did.
Okay.
So I don't know how he financed it or whether he was... I don't know. So I really don't know. But, there's Shepo Mhlohle.
Okay.
There's Lindani Mswa. Unbelievable story. There's tons and tons of people. Nkuseli Faku. I can go on and on and on. Zero help, no BE, and have built incredible businesses. The potential is very much here.
I don't want to talk about BE.
Yeah, so me neither.
Thank you, by the way.
So that's the family story.
Where does your family business stake stand now? Are you a trust fund baby? This is why you were traveling overseas, dating Californians?
My father and mother are still alive. I haven't inherited a cent.
Oh, snap.
I don't have a trust fund.
Do they?
Yeah.
This is an unfair question. Yeah. It's a question I've been wanting to ask, and I don't even know if it's fair to ask it on camera, and please feel free to not answer it. A view of your family wealth, where it sits, and if it's going to vest in yourself, and if you have maybe any future plans for it, especially now that you have kids as well.
Yeah, I've said in speeches, most of my wealth's offshore. I spent 31 years overseas building businesses.
Sure.
Marquis Jet was a big success. I sold it to NetJets, to Warren Buffett. I've had failure. I've had success. I've accumulated capital. I have businesses overseas.
You sold a jet business to Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
It's a stunning story. There's going to be people hearing it for the first time, by the way. That's why I'm emphasizing.
It was called Marquis Jet.
Sure.
I built up the European side of the business, sold it to NetJet, owned by Warren Buffett, and was made vice chairman of NetJets Europe.
Congrats on the successes.
Thank you very much.
But I know you've had losses as well.
Yeah, I have. So I owned a third of Air Berlin at one point.
Sure.
The second biggest airline in Germany. But I bought it at the wrong time.
Sure.
And then the market crashed and I lost a lot of money. But then I helped build up VistaJet, which a friend of mine owns, from 12 aircraft to over 400 aircraft, second biggest in the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So in terms of family, we don't have a family business in South Africa. Family. Okay. So that's over. We have stakes. We have, portfolio of investments.
Sure.
My brother now lives in England. He's gone. He left. The year I came, he left.
You chased him away?
No, it just happened to be. My older sister's moved to North Carolina because her husband reached a white ceiling, glass ceiling. That's the expression. No, he got to a point in his tech company where they said, we can't promote you because you're white. We've got to find a black guy that can do the job. They were very open with him. Sure. So he left. He said, oh, enough. Okay. They've moved to America. A lot of that's happening. And then my youngest sister's 3 children all grew up here, have all moved to England and Australia. So she's as good as gone. And my parents are at their age. So I might be the only Hersov in South Africa at some point. And I came back.
Sure. Is your family still what we'd consider relatively wealthy?
We're wealthy.
Jeez.
But we're not at the level of the Ruperts and the Visas and the...
It's nice to be like, we're not there yet, but...
No. I mean, I have my own wealth.
Sure.
And I expect additional wealth at some point. If my parents ever decide to go somewhere else.
Sure.
They're in good shape though, so they may never go, which I'd be happy with if they stayed. And, I have no worries about money.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny how very wealthy people go, oh, I grew up in poverty with debt. Most of it's bullshit,
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm honest. I was born into a wealthy family. I've been given every privilege. I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful. So,
thank you for the honesty. It's quite refreshing, especially for minds like my own. I've read a lot of business case studies. I've studied a lot of people that come from wealthy families. I think one of the things to commend of your family is the fact that they've managed to maintain the wealth over 3 generations, sorry. Most people don't know that it normally doesn't last beyond the second generation, if you're even lucky then. So the fact that you fell in love with business, decided that you also want to be your own man, look to diversify, wanted to add value to the family. The fact that your father came from the bottom, I think that it's very inspirational and something to learn for everyone.
But I'll give you a depressing thought.
Sure.
In 1970, I'm going to get the date wrong, the dollar and the rand were parity.
Yes.
We were dollar billionaires in 1970.
Crazy.
We are not dollar billionaires today. And that's because the rand has collapsed. It's gone down to 17 over that period, 70, 80, 90.
Is that not mostly because of America's monetary policies, more than just how our economy is done?
No, we've just massively underperformed under the Nats and under the ANC. Sure. Massively. We've gone backwards. You
love airplanes, it seems.
Aviation,
because you're still looking to open an airport in the Western Cape.
Yes. So a friend of mine, Nick Ferguson, and I bought an airport.
Yeah.
That's functioning with a frequency called Santa Kraal.
Sure.
It's like North Durbanville. No one had noticed it.
Sure.
It's funny how once you buy something, a lot of people say, oh, I was going to buy it. So like, why didn't you? Yeah.
Sure.
So we bought it, and the vision is to have a diversion airport for Cape Town. Cape Town is one of the few big cities in the world that doesn't have a second airport. So if planes fly from Europe or the Middle East, or even from elsewhere in Africa, and there's fog in Cape Town, which is 12 to 15 days a year, they can't land.
I hear you.
So they've got to carry a huge amount of fuel. Every single flight does for that uncertainty, and it's hugely expensive. So we're going to be the sort of backup. So we get no fog. We're actually a much better location than Cape Town International, and our airport was built before Cape Town International. So we've had conversations with AXA, and and they understand our vision there. So it's going to be a great, great, great business and a great deal.
You support an independent Western Cape? If yes, I'd like to know why.
I do it because it pisses off the ANC. No, that's why I do it. I mean, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Unlikely.
Sure.
But I like saying free the Western Cape,
sure,
because all it does every day is remind the ANC that the DA know how to run cities, municipalities, provinces, and potentially countries,
sure,
and the ANC don't. So every single day saying free the Cape means we know how to run things you don't.
The biggest thing is to scare them in that the Western Cape in itself is a huge economy. And if ever South Africa lost it, they'd lose a lot, and it's worth fighting for. Or you need to get your act together so that people in the Western Cape want to remain a part of South Africa.
So the DA doesn't support Cape independence.
Okay. I didn't know that, by the way.
No, they don't. Why? Because they want to fix the whole of South Africa.
Yeah.
And that's their view. And I would feel quite bad if the Western Cape went independent.
Sure.
And you and, buddies in Durban and buddies in Joburg were left to be run by the ANC.
No, I'd go get my citizenship as soon as possible. Get a wife there.
We'd welcome you.
Sure.
But, that's why I back, free the Cape. But I, for the first time, am slightly optimistic about 2024 for the whole country.
Sure.
And my views. I think the ANC are out in 2024. Don't count our chickens before they hatch.
Sure.
Who's going to replace them? There's going to be complexity. Will the ANC even give up power?
Yeah.
Will they?
We haven't spoken about that.
Yeah.
What happens if the ANC loses power? Will they just take it lying down, or will they actually retaliate, as we've seen in other countries?
I think they're too disorganized, too fractured. They're fighting each other. Nobody's speaking with the same mouth. I think they've no chance. They'll just fall apart. But I'd like to come up. Maybe I'll wait for your question first. Yeah.
You've achieved a lot in your life. I know from your profile you've dated international supermodels.
I'm married.
No, you're married, and I've met your wife.
Yeah.
Stunning, beautiful woman. Highly intelligent woman. She's a doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm just talking about your profile. Sorry, no disrespect to the family. You've achieved a lot on your own. You've met a lot of people. You've learned from your grandfather, your dad. Do you believe you're in a point now of self-actualization? Is that why you feel this strong need to want to get involved with where you were born and saying, I want to do my bit to help the country get better?
I'm glad you called it self-actualization on Maslow's hierarchy, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
I've never had to worry about the bottom part of the pyramid. I'm fortunate to... And that's the reality.
White privilege.
No, privilege.
It's privilege from what your parents have
I was
afforded
born,
you.
I'm the lucky sperm club.
Jeez.
I mean, that's the one way of looking at it.
I hear you.
And and then I sort of had my going through life, finding my career and working things out and learning and making mistakes. But I am at that self-actualization level.
Yeah.
I really feel that I want to do some more things for the good of others. And you suddenly realize at some point in your life, I've got enough.
Sure.
I'm good at business. I can make more money. I can lose more money. But I want to do something different now. I want to help people.
Yeah.
And I'll just make one point. I don't want to ever be in politics.
Are you sure?
Ever.
I'm sure all your mates think you probably want to run in 2024.
No, but what am I going to do? Be minister of... I'm not going to report to a president.
Sure.
I much prefer being independent and enjoying my life. Make me minister of innovation. They're better people than me, and I just get irritated. Sitting in a cabinet meeting, I'd go mad. So it's never going to happen. So I'm never going to be a politician.
Yeah.
On business, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I want nothing from the government.
Yeah.
I don't want favors. I don't want rights. I don't want leases. I'm happy to compete with others.
Sure.
So I want nothing. And I can live overseas tomorrow morning if I want to. I've nothing holding me back, other than I want this country to succeed. I drive down the road and I see people struggling. I drive down the road, I see people in poverty. It's because of the ANC.
Sure.
The ANC has put those people in that terrible position. And it's so easy to fix. It's so easy to fix. But we've got to get those muffin heads out. That's being rude to muffin heads.
A lot of black people, because of our history in this country, have inherited or experienced a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
They they're angry. When they see white people, they get angry. And for a lot of them, they see rich whites and good people as mutually exclusive. You cannot be a rich white and be a good person. And one of the things I've come to appreciate, it's one of the things I've come to appreciate about you. Yeah. I get called a lot of controversial names as well. And you've been called a lot of names, of course, but the fact that you own it, you say, look, I come from a decent background. I may be a rich white man, but I'm also a good person. I want to work. And I think there's a lot of, I don't know if it's therapy or conversations we need to have so that people begin understanding there are rich people, not just white, in this country who are not good people and who don't care. There are a lot of, let's say, for example, you had an option after your speech last year where you were bashing the ANC at a business news conference. You had an option to just disappear from the limelight. And you said, no, I'm going to stay vocal. Something is wrong. I want to raise it. I don't care if you're going to call me names. I've got a background. We know the history of this country, but you're not going to silence me purely because I'm a white man who happens to be well off. I still want to serve.
Correct.
You prefer working in the background? That's where the terms like capture and those things come in.
I don't know.
And is there like a group of white people that sit around dark corners saying, so what are we going to do with the blacks and we're going to find Cyril?
Well, if there is, they haven't invited me into the group.
Jeez, you didn't make the club.
I'm not in the club. I really am not in the club.
Sure.
Here's the problem is, when I made my speech, I made it at a conference.
Yeah.
They were only allowed 50 people there because of COVID. But so they had 2 rooms, and I, in the middle of the room, the stage, at 50 and 50.
Sure. You didn't even know it was going to be flighted anywhere.
I didn't even know. I thought it was going to be like a edited version on Biz News. And I told the truth. I told it like it is.
Yeah.
And it hit a nerve. It went to, I don't know, 750,000 people have watched it. And I've had people who just won't talk to me again.
And these are people that were your friends, business associates, people that you lost for speaking up for your truth.
People stab me in the back, say horrible things.
Sure.
Friends.
Sure.
And then I have people on the street of all colors come up to me, even on the plane yesterday. I'll tell you about this funny incident. Come up and say, "You that guy, you that crazy guy. Keep doing what you're doing."
Yeah.
This guy in a car drove up to me in a sort of crappy car. There was honking his horn as a black guy. I thought, fuck, trying to
that was probably me in a crappy car.
No, it was about six months ago. And I thought, what does he want? And he goes, "You're that guy on TV. Keep telling the people in Pretoria how useless they are. Good for you."
Sure.
And all day long, every day, someone says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you."
Yeah.
Now, I've been told there are a lot of people that, do not like me and would like to take a crack at me, but it hasn't happened yet.
And you've not only spoken out about how the ANC is mismanaging the country and they corrupt, you've also called out big business, big white business people to be like, why are you guys not speaking up?
And why aren't they speaking up? Because a year ago, almost like to the month. It's a year ago to the month when I made the speech. And then I've done subsequent comments on where's big business?
Sure.
Silence of the lambs. Still not speaking up. Now, Neil Froneman, he's not afraid. Sure. And there are examples here and there. But where's Old Mutual? Where's Standard Bank? Where's F&B? Where's Discovery? I always say.
This is why they don't invite you to the tables.
No, they don't. They don't. But I don't care. I'm actually happy with my life. Why aren't they speaking up? Why are they so afraid?
I'll tell you something, Rob, just in my personal experience. You were ready at that time to speak up. You were willing to deal with the consequences. You were willing to take the backlash. Yes, it hits a nerve for everyone, not just big business, for everyone. And there are a lot of people who were nodding quietly on their own. And some of the big business people, I think, I know it might be urgent times, but it's going to take them a bit of time to find their voice.
Why?
And I think we need to be a little bit patient with them, just a little bit. They're scared.
Of what?
They're not ready of the consequences like you were.
But
of which already we're dealing with certain consequences now.
Yeah, it's cost me a hell of a lot of money. I got death threats to my face.
I'm sorry.
It's a funny story, but I'll tell you on another version.
When are you going to tell me the plane story?
Oh, yeah, the plane story. What do you want? The death threat or the plane story?
Start with the plane story.
Okay, yesterday, I always chat to people on airplanes, and Katie asks me when I land,
you're those annoying people that bug us while we try to mind our business.
I don't let you sleep. So, Katie, who did you meet on the flight? So I had this guy next to me with the most English name in the world. I'm going to mention Lionel Dickens, great guy. But he went to Paul Boys, and his kids went to Paul Boys. Lionel Dickens, a beautiful English name. And he and I had the best chat, future of South Africa. And he lives in Germany, works for a German wine manufacturing company. He's South African, but he's desperate to come home. And I know the feeling. Yeah. Okay, that's why I came back, and I'm not leaving. And then this guy comes up to me, okay, kind of big, burly black guy. And he goes, "You're that crazy guy making the speeches." And I sort of got up and I went, "You're not going to punch me on an aeroplane."
Sure.
And I said, "Yeah, I'm Rob." And I shook his hand. He said, "I'm so happy to meet you."
Yeah.
And the guy I work with, who's over there, sleeping with the hat down, "I know, we're dying to meet you. We're from NUMSA."
Oh, wow.
So when I think NUMSA, I think like crazy
unions.
Hating business. But this guy was charming.
Sure.
And then I said to him, "Well, why don't I go up to the guy you work with, tap him on the shoulder, and he'll open his eyes and he'll see the devil himself." Look, he'll think the plane must have crashed and gone to hell.
Jeez.
So we get off the plane together and we're walking through the airport chatting. These are some of the smartest guys I met. The one's biotech, the other's health tech. And they're very senior on the investment side of NUMSA. I think they run the investment side. And they've developed pharma companies and health tech that obviously need commercial partnerships, international relationships, and finance. Someone like me can bring. They've built these amazing businesses. And actually, they were way ahead of me intellectually on those subjects. So I had to call my wife, doctor, and Warren Shevitz, my buddy in Goodleaf, one of our cannabis and CBD products, put them on the phone to these guys. And Warren called me back and said, "Wow, these are power people."
Beautiful.
And what a great thing. I was like,
One of my mentors currently is a gentleman by the name of Kandani Msibi. He's the CEO of 360, which I think looks after, it might be NUMSA money.
That's him.
Very innovative.
That's him.
Very forward thinking.
That's him.
He wants us to build multi-billion rand billion dollar companies. So when you're speaking, I'm like, it can't be. Small world. Don't call, we're recording. You can call afterwards. Kandani Msibi.
That's him.
Amazing
Love
mind.
you, man.
Amazing mind. And I'm glad that my world is getting smaller as well.
So those are the people.
I was going to speak about collaboration later, but now
we'll go for it.
We'll speak about it later. The death threats first, and then we'll speak about collaboration.
Well, let's move on from the death threats, because it's like a distant past and it's moved on. But
no problem.
But I saw.
But maybe there's something to touch on. I think maybe from my side. I at some point wanted to reach the masses in terms of my voice and some of my thoughts. And I realized a lot of the masses listen to certain leaders. And sometimes you actually should just be focusing on the leaders, because then it trickles down. So for people that are going to be watching our conversation, to go and have some of these chats out there, that we need to learn tolerance, we need to take some introspection, and we need to figure out why we're frustrated. Almost 30 years later, apartheid happened. Traumatic, we're still living with the consequences today. Almost 30 years later, the reason we're still frustrated today is actually because of the governing party. And we're still taking it out on the wrong people. It could be a rich white man, it could be a poor illegal immigrant in this country, purely because we refuse to take a step back. And then we end up threatening someone who could actually give you a job, could fund your business, could connect you with other people that can change your life, purely because they said something that you maybe weren't ready to hear. That take accountability. Who are you voting for? Are you a lazy government employee yourself?
Yeah.
Are you corrupt yourself? Why are you not voting differently? And why are you not reaching out a hand and saying, crazy rich white man, you're crazy, you're bashing our elders who gave us freedom, but what can you do that we can help you with and work together? So I just wanted to touch on that, because...
Beautifully put, by the way.
Yeah, because...
Beautifully put.
The death threats are not necessary. You end up actually losing valuable people because of that.
So my frustration...
It's going to be an ongoing conversation.
You use the word frustration.
Yeah.
It's a great word. Everyone is frustrated about something. You know, some people have really serious frustrations, like feeding their kids and keeping the lights on and paying their rent and finding a roof over their heads, okay? My frustration is their frustration. I look at them and go, they don't deserve that.
Yeah.
I can fix this country in an instant. It's so easy.
Sure.
But that's not going to happen with Becky Clearly and Gwede Mantashe.
You must get into politics.
No, I don't want to get into politics. But the formula's there. The DA can do it. Herman Mashaba can do it. Musi can do it.
Sure.
Gayton can do it. They can run this country properly and turn it around very quickly.
We'll speak about them.
We've got to vote for change.
The DA. So I watched, I think you've heard of Podcast and Chill.
Yes.
Meg G and Sol.
Yeah.
For people to know that there's like rich white men that are busy watching garbage conversations on the internet. So they had John Steenhuisen on recently. And a lot of their chillers, their audience, young black kids, were quite inspired and motivated. And I just wanted to highlight, I personally have my own issues with the DA and some of the DA leadership, but that's not for today. John Steenhuisen said on that platform, the issues with the ANC and the government are not so much rich people issues. If rich people have an issue with the schooling, they go to a private school. If they have an issue with the SAPS, they go and they hire private security. If they have any other issues, there are private alternatives. He said the issue is actually for the poor, to what you're saying. I'm a rich, the black pen, I'm paying taxes. I'm creating employment. My employees are paying taxes. My frustration when I meet a poor person on the street saying, you rich people, it's like, but we're doing our bit. We're creating jobs, we're paying taxes. And the people that are meant to be bridging the gap of making sure you have decent homes, making sure that you have decent schooling so that we can hire you, making sure you have funding because the government has got funding agencies. Those are the people that are actually letting you down. It is not us. So again, these are some of the, I don't know if you'd call them nuanced conversations we need to have because of emotions, people just refuse to have these conversations, and depending on who's telling them that stuff, they don't want to hear it, even if it's logical. That's why I say sometimes we need to be patient, but we must not stop hitting at them.
You can be patient for a certain period of time, after which it becomes cowardice. You've got to take action. People, sorry, not you, but people have to take action. You know, I know you say business community, you've got to give it a bit of time. No, we don't.
Sure.
They have to stand up and say enough is enough.
Sure.
Why should all the lawyers and media people and journalists, you know, why are they fighting the fight and not big business?
Sure.
Often you find small business people and medium-sized business people are fighting the fight. But why aren't the big companies saying, Cyril, enough's enough. Sure. You're spineless, you're useless, you're failing, and you need to get out. And you've probably broken 14 laws in your stupid Namibia thing. He has.
With the
Cyril has broken laws.
Bank.
Yes, he's broken laws.
Best bank in the
Cyril
country.
Out.
Best bank in the country, the Mattress
Yes,
Bank.
I wish I had one, but I don't.
You mentioned Gayton McKenzie, you mentioned Musi Maimane. I think you also believe in Herman Mashaba.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tricky question I'm asking, and it's loaded. Your personal opinion, are there certain types of people, black people, that you believe in? Is there a certain criteria of, I think I'm that type of person, so maybe I should be in line with what these guys are doing? Because clearly there's other types of people, black people. You've spoken about the EFF, you've spoken about the ANC. Do you have a criteria? Because this is where people start worrying about it's coconut blacks, clever blacks. Do you have a criteria?
What's the opposite of coconut black?
I don't know.
My wife says I'm this wannabe black Jew she's ever met. I'm neither. The criteria is very clear. I do have a criteria.
Yeah.
Honest, decent, transparent.
Yeah.
Believer in constitutional democracy, capitalism, and the free markets. Anyone who believes in that, believes in self-determination, independent, rugged individualism.
Sure.
Someone that gets up in the morning and spends below their means, and is compassionate and tries to do things for other people at the same time as they are trying to do things for their family. Those are the criteria. It's not a color thing.
But why do you normally punt the black guys? Because it seems like you normally punt
because the country still has a slightly racial, unfortunate undertone. So and our majority are black of our country. So we will need a leader who is not white.
You believe
as the next step. No, I don't. I believe you should just have the best person of all. Don't care who it is.
But you understand the sensitivity.
I understand the sensitivity. Okay. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to ask. We already know from the ANC the answer, but I'd like to ask the EFF, VF Plus, Patriotic Alliance, DA, blah, blah, blah. What would your cabinet look like? Give me the names of who you'd have in your cabinet, who individually, and which cabinet positions you'd get rid of, or might add. We have a cabinet like 50 ministers with DGs.
It's too big.
It's a joke.
It's too big. And most people don't even know they exist.
And we don't need DGs. If you have the proper person as a minister, you don't need a DG. We have useless people as ministers.
Sure.
So they sort of need a DG to do the work.
That is true. The DGs do the work.
Yeah, exactly. So you could get rid of 90% of those lunatics and have a much smaller cabinet of more focused people and better people.
Sure.
And I'd like to know from everyone who's standing for government who their cabinet would be. Individuals, the names.
You did my homework. So I've got a platform, Penuel The Black Pen, where I gave people homework, 5 to 10 items that affect you personally.
Yeah.
So that when a politician comes to you, you say, I know the country's got problems, but these are my concerns. And you did the homework. And I think it's pretty cool that you're now challenging other political parties to say, we hear you're frustrated, you want to lead the country, but do your homework. Tell us, this is who should be Minister of Police. This is who should be.
Exactly.
So that we now know if we vote for you, this is what we're going to be getting.
100%. And the DA probably could do it.
Sure.
I think they've actually got the names.
They've got shadow ministers.
They've got shadow ministers, yeah. So they can do it. I'm sure Action SA, if pushed, would also hand you the list.
Sure.
Gayton McKenzie, interesting, I asked him already, and he said, he doesn't take money from anyone. Yeah. Okay? He refuses to take money from me. I even looked on the...
You're going to give him money? Where do we get money? I'm going to send you my banking details.
For the toilets and for the pools and things like that. Okay? So I had a look on the Patriotic Alliance website. There isn't a donate button.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And I asked him why not. He said, the problem with Cyril and Gwede and all those boys and Paul Mashatile, is the Treasurer General, they've been taking money from everyone. They owe everyone something. So they're trapped.
Yeah.
They can't move because they owe everyone a deal. Gayton says, I never want to owe anyone anything. I want to do the right thing for the country, put the right people in power, put the right people as ambassadors who do the job and not owe anything to a single person. I'm like, wow, that's impressive.
By the way, I want to say thank you because Gayton did tell us the story of your contribution to the toilets in the Karoo. If you can just mention that a little bit. I don't want to steal the shine.
I don't want to take credit.
Well, you were involved. Yeah. It was a collaborative effort, but just your involvement.
Yeah. So at my famous 100th birthday party, me 60, my wife 40.
You're such an old geezer.
Yeah, I don't look that old.
You don't look old.
I don't feel old.
Sure.
Do you know what my dad said to me last night? I said, Dad, what's the secret to being 96? He said, always stay young, act young, and pass stress on to others.
Yes. That's beautiful.
Stress is a killer.
Great advice.
Yeah.
No, you look very fresh for an old geezer.
I didn't sleep that well.
Jeez.
But at my party, I didn't tell Katie. I stood up when I was making my speech to her and to the children and to my friends and thanking them. And I said, look, you all have asked about presents and I don't want anything. I'm a minimalist.
Sure, like me?
I don't own watches and jewelry or nothing.
Minimalist like me?
And I said, but here, I have an idea. Gayton McKenzie said in his 100 days, he'll resign if he doesn't deliver swimming pools, toilets. I said, instead of giving me and Katie gifts, why don't you donate to that project?
Beautiful.
And people did in spades. In fact, the money is still coming in. And that, I felt so happy and I felt good about that,
Sure. Sorry, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your birthday party. Thanks for the invite. Even though you don't get invited to the little white table.
You get invited to the Hersov 110th.
Oh, geez. Thank you for the invite, by the way. You understand, because you worked for Rupert Murdoch, I'd like to think, the depth of perception. I've been dealing with it ever since I posted a picture with you. It's been interesting because I've tried to manage the narrative.
Yeah.
Some people just don't care. Some people actually think it's absolutely amazing. Some people, sadly, are just opportunists. So they were like, oh, Rob, I need funding for my business. I'm like, hey, take it easy. I've just met
10 messages, 10 messages a day on that.
Crazy. What was my point? Perception. I've had to fight, sadly, the idea, because I couldn't make it to your birthday party, but I was going to be there if I wasn't busy. The idea that every time I get involved with what you're doing, people are going to talk nonsense. And mind you, this is probably the saddest part. These are people that add no value to my life. They probably don't watch my stuff. They don't know what my values are. They're not involved in some of the charity work I do, just because of the anger and the... I think I was just venting. Sorry, I wasn't trying to...
But Pen, I'm not on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn, and never have been.
Yeah.
I don't read any comments on anything. I live in this kind of naive, childish oblivion.
Sure.
But it's such a powerful thing. I mean, I go to sleep at night, and I only find out when people are saying terrible things about me when somebody says, "Did you see this?"
Sure.
And I don't like it, you know.
Yeah. Or when someone forwards you a video with me. I remember in the video I made last year, I said I was quite excited by your speech, but I also half slashed white people because some of the people we now know together were like, "But Pen, you can't say this." I'm like, "No, man, watch the whole video. There's context." So
the saddest thing of all for me is people are trying to rein me in.
Yeah.
So this time I won't mention names, but some very respected people who I've asked, should I be pushing these buttons? And I asked them, I'm going to do what I do anyway, but I asked them out of interest, more to get stuff back. And they're all trying to rein me in. Don't name names. Don't pick on business.
Sure.
But if I don't pick on business, the hell are they going to stand up and actually say enough is enough? When are they going to do it? But here's an idea for you. A lot of top ANC people have reached out to me over the last year, and very recently.
Oh, yes.
And they ask me if you give money to us, we can protect the country against the RET faction. Okay?
Jeez.
Give money to us, the good ANC, and you won't get the bad ANC.
Sure.
I have a better answer for them. I say, why don't you be on the right side of history and be the first very senior ANC person to stand up and walk out of the party? Why don't you, and let me just name a few names.
Don't name names.
Okay, don't name
names.
This
is what gets you in trouble.
But why don't you, Mr. and Mrs. NEC, stand up and say, enough's enough. This thing is going nowhere. The ANC did its job, but it's over. And I'm stepping out. I'm going to form my own party or join whatever Action SA. Or my principles are this high. The ANC's lost its principles and I'm leaving.
That's integrity.
And integrity. Omri Mahagole did that. I have the immense respect for him.
Sure.
I mean, what a guy, what bravery that is. But if one of the NEC said it, or a couple of cabinet ministers just said, enough's enough, this is going nowhere. The ANC is a disaster, breaking, stealing, and ruining the future of this country, and I'm leaving. Wouldn't they'd be the first?
Instead,
they'd create history. Someone's going to do it, and then there'll be a rush.
You pump a lot of money into political parties?
No. I give to specific causes. So, Ian Cameron suing Becky Clearly.
Shout out to Ian Cameron and Action Society.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to write it. I wrote a check to that. I said, Ian, I'm sending you money. Sue that guy. He's got to get rid of him. So I do specific, if the DA wants some specific money for a specific thing, like Gayton and the pools and things, but I don't give to Topco.
Okay. You believe in people that are doing good work, and that makes sense.
Yes.
Are there platforms that you're aware of that people can go to? People that are doing good work, not asking for
AfriForum,
not DMing me.
AfriForum.
Even for black people, non-Afrikaners?
The AfriForum has shifted away from just for Afrikaners to all people, and Action Society. I mean, they're in the townships, they're saving people. One SA, Lucy's organization. There are tons of them, tons and tons and tons.
I wanted to release this after I do it. I'm going to mention it just a little bit. I'm considering, should I even say it? let me put it this way. So I've met Ernst Roots, one of the leaders of AfriForum. I'm going to be planning a tour with Ernst van Zyl of the AfriForum headquarters, and I'm hoping to have good news.
Great.
After that tour, and then I'll speak about that and see how that goes.
That would be fascinating.
I think it would be a pretty cool story to tell. I wanted to speak about Rupert Murdoch, and probably want to be closing off soon.
And then I've got one thing.
Sure. How deep is your network? You work for Rupert Murdoch, who for a long time was the king of the media and the perception in the world. You've worked with Johan Rupert, who is South Africa's daddy. I think he might still be the biggest taxpayer in this country.
He is.
How deep is your network? And I'm a huge fan of collaboration. How do we get people to collaborate in various ways? Maybe using yourself, me, maybe a Gayton. Johan Rupert tried to reach out a hand with Given Mkari back then. Unfortunately, woke black people attacked him. I think he gave them the middle finger. which was a sad opportunity lost.
Yeah.
So we can maybe try and pick that up. How deep is your network? How do we create platforms for collaboration?
Well, firstly, I think you should have more people of diverse backgrounds on your show.
Sure.
Because you really are, you're searching for knowledge on behalf of your audience. It's a fantastic thing, I saw you chatting to Dudu. Put me in a room with him. Why don't you have me, him,
Dudu is like your favorite politician in the country, isn't he?
I get the creeps when I see him.
But it's not fair. It's not fair. A big chunk of, I think, why people don't like him is because of his dad and because of the Guptas. It's almost like your dad maybe was president of the country during apartheid, and the people you decided to do business with are these people that are called corrupt, and now everyone's bashing you. I think
the Guptas have given him a lot of money. There's a PR agency telling him how to behave, how to act.
Jeez.
He's always been polite and charming. I have to give him that.
He is very polite, very charming.
And he'll get the vagina vote.
Jeez.
I tell the truth. But he's creepy. There's something. Anyway, let's move on.
Sure.
But do you have anything else?
No, I was asking about your network and collaboration.
So I'm very, very well connected. I'd love to bring more people into the game, international as well.
Yeah.
But I think your platform and MacG and other platforms like that are terrific for exposing these kind of people.
But then there needs to be something after this. We need to. I don't know what it will be. I don't personally like parties, but we need to have sessions where I'm a rich white man, or I'm a rich black man, or a rich black woman. You're a kid with a little bit of talent who claims they want to work. If you're just looking for a job, obviously you shouldn't be here. Go put in your CV, go get a job. That's fine. Don't come to these sessions looking for a job.
Yeah.
Come here because you have something unique to add, and maybe we can try and help you make it a reality. Like I was saying, and we didn't touch on it, but it's fine. Kandanim CV 360, I know he empowers a lot of young people with great ideas, great inventions. When I think of Silicon Cape as an idea, the guys there, I think Justin Stanford, Vinnie Lingham and the guy, those are the platforms that I think we need to bring. So I'm just asking, it's not even fair, but are you keen maybe? Are you keen for us to brainstorm platforms 100%. To bring talented people
100%.
And connect them with people, not just locally, but internationally as well, because you have an international...
Do you know what I've found? Tons of people contact me. Can you look at my deal? Can you give me a job? Can you give me money? But the one that resonates the most with me is, please, could you be my mentor?
Sure.
And white kids tend to have mentors. Tend on that.
That's true.
And black kids who want to do well in life tend not to have access to mentors like we do.
Can I say something? The sad thing, just to add to that, a lot of the wealthy black elders, they refuse to mentor young black kids.
Why? That's sad, because I've got a few mentors. So I'm the mentor of a few people.
Sure.
Jabba,
a few proteges.
Jabba, Teddy Kuzwalo,
sure.
And et cetera, And it gives me nothing. I'm so excited when I get a message, like after a few years, from someone that I've given help to, says, this is what I've done. Thank you for your help.
Sure.
And they've made a success in their lives. But how do you scale that? I can't mentor 100 people. I mean, I have no time.
There's just no capacity.
But I'd love to be able to do more of that. That interests me. So if we can build in mentoring, I'd be even more excited. But Pen, I've got something. It's a bit naughty.
Jeez.
This is a bit naughty, okay?
Do you know how many white kids, because this is funny for me, do you know how many white kids wish they had the access I have to you? It's mind-blowing, because people feel, however, and I have to explain to even black people that I'm like, I understand my own privileges. I may not have come from a well-off family, but my parents gave me a decent brain,
excellent education,
good education, etc. I understand my privileges, but I have to explain to them that my access to Rob is not just unique for black people. It's unique for, there are white kids and white old people who are just like, how did you meet Rob? I'd love to. And I'm like, I think I'm lucky, but it's quite a big deal. You did, because I'm a fucking big deal. That's why. Yeah. That's why I reached out to you.
And I think my wife said he's very handsome too. So.
Yeah. I can't comment on that because she's your wife. She's stunning.
Exactly.
She's stunning.
Thank you.
Geez,
and on that note,
beautiful. Thank you to her for saying that, by the way.
Yeah. On that note, she's a New Zealander and she loves South Africa. She loves South Africa. But the only thing that pains me with my buddy Pen is that he supports the All Blacks. And
we can't speak about that now.
Can't we? And I just want to give you that one day you can find it. You can find it in your heart.
This is called selling out, by the way, what you're doing now.
So
when people call me a sellout, it's going to be because I've sold out to the All Blacks and I've become shout out to Lucanio Am. Shout out to Cheston Colby.
Exactly.
Shout out to Sia Kolisi.
Start by
Stephen Kitchoff.
backing the sevens team, okay, the Blitzbokke.
Sure.
And you'll get there.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks a lot, bro.
Ben, here you go, buddy. I had to do that.
This is what we call selling out, by the way. This is real selling out. Yeah. Jeez. The Springboks are starting to win me slowly.
Okay.
But it's a conversation we'll have on another day.
Lovely. But thanks for considering.
You went and you sold out, by the way, and you got a New Zealand wife, so...
Exactly.
I think we're both sellouts in some way.
Do you know, in our wedding vows, my wife wrote them, all the wedding vows for our wedding.
Sure.
And she said, there was nothing about forever love and God. It was like, I had to say, my team will always be the Springboks, but my second team will be the All Blacks, and hers is the opposite. Those are the wedding vows.
Jeez, that's hectic.
How cool is that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You are stoic.
Yes.
I think in closing, I want to speak about just that. I think we've covered the politics, we've covered the networks, which I guess I'll take the responsibility on myself.
Yeah.
With some of the other guys to create platforms.
I'd love to help.
I'm also going to try in my own little ways to access some of the big business guys, because maybe I'm not as hard hitting as you, and I'm more understanding that they're not ready.
But I'll help you get some of the good ones.
Sure. Thank you. And then we spoke about some of your family history, which I think those that are interested must go and read more. Not just your family, all these other families, because there's something to learn. You said something very interesting about, I think with your grandfather's family, he was the only one that could go to university.
Yeah.
I remember reading the story of Jan Smuts, probably one of the best leaders this country's ever had, which people obviously have emotional attachment to. He wasn't meant to go to school because he was the second born. His brother went to school, and then I think his brother passed away. And that's how he got to school, because he was looking after the farm as a second born. He didn't have the privilege of going to school. These are some of the stories that black people think are only isolated to them. I couldn't go to school, only my brother could. There are white people in this country with an exact same story, but if you're not willing to study the history and remove the emotions, you'll miss out on them. So thank you for the family history. Thank you to your dad, for being so amazing, and to your mom as well. For
I love
being
you
so
to
amazing.
meet them. Yeah.
I hope I can.
My creators.
Soon. Yes, the people that decided to do the dirty to give us you.
Exactly.
So in closing, just stoic. How you feel about that? The internet in particular has become a great space for young men, all races across the world, that are yearning for real masculinity, which is being stolen from us. And then after your thoughts about stoicism, just your wishes for the future of this country politically.
So real masculinity, stand up, be brave, be a man, defend your family, and do the right thing. That is the real masculinity. It's not about showing off and showing muscles. It's about being a decent, compassionate, loving, strong human being. That's masculinity. On stoicism, I signed up for the free Daily Stoic.
Sure.
So every morning I get my Daily Stoic.
This is an online platform?
It's an online. It's free.
Okay.
And, the Stoics was created in ancient Greece. And then it died off. And then Marcus Aurelius, the greatest Roman emperor, adopted stoicism and reignited it.
Yeah.
And Epictetus was one of the philosophers. And then it died off again. And it's been reinvigorated. And for people, you can be religious or not, but stoicism is a practice for life. It's how to live your life. And I fail sometimes. I get angry, I get upset, but it teaches you how to deal with ego and envy, the two great destroyers, the two E's. Ego, you're projecting a human being that you're not really. You're not that human being. And envy, you want what others have.
Yeah.
Stoicism says you've got to be comfortable in your own skin to deal with anything in life. And that's so powerful, And then there's amor fati, You can't control weird things that happen to you. Your house burns down, these things happen. There's always a positive. I know it sounds almost impossible to say, but there's always a positive. Maybe it was time for you to move house. Maybe.
No, you're very right.
Yeah. And it's stoicism. I would encourage everyone to just sign up for the Daily Stoic.
Including females?
Very much so. Sure. My wife My wife minimalized me. She turned me into minimalist, and then I went way further.
Is this because New Zealand is just the better... I'm sorry, I take that back.
It's a great country.
Sure.
Yeah. That's a great country. But I mean, we deal with real world issues.
Yeah.
They don't.
You're
That's
right.
my view.
You're right.
And so I think stoicism is a great practice. Just try it. You might like it.
Thank you so much. I like that every cloud has a silver lining, number one. And for people that are business oriented, there's always opportunity in tragedy. It's basically what you're saying. It maybe not for you, but there's always a positive in every tragic situation. And if you can train yourself to find it for yourself, I think you're ready to live a full life.
If you don't try to do something truly remarkable, you haven't lived your life.
Geez, thanks.
And what you're doing here is truly remarkable.
Future of politics. And that's going to be my last question.
Okay, future of politics. Well, I think South Africa is a constitutional democracy and has to stick with that for the time being. I went up to Rwanda, had a meeting with Paul Kagame.
Jeez.
I wasn't there to have that meeting.
You were chilling with Paul, the big boy.
I was chilling with Paul.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing country. Amazing what he's done. In 1994, we got democracy in South Africa. In 1994, they had a genocide.
Yeah, you're right.
And look at all these statistics of education, health. They've gone like this, and we've gone like this.
You're right. I see the Zambian president is on the come up as well.
He's amazing. HH, friend of mine. I backed him, not financially, but as a friend for the 8 years when he was in trouble trying to get into power.
Brilliant.
And he got in. He's a great guy. I'd love to introduce you to him.
Who must we vote for? Who must young people vote for? What must they be thinking, in your opinion?
Vote for change. I mean, I don't want to dictate who they vote for, but vote for change. Do what Penn suggested. Highlight your key issues. What are your key 5 to 10 issues?
Sure.
Okay. And then have a look at Action SA, DA, and Carter, and see who fits those values and vote for them. Sure. But vote for change. We've got to get rid of the ANC because we're just going to get the same guys in 2024 that are ruining the country.
Do we need more young people in politics?
Definitely. Definitely. But how to do that, it's not going to happen with the ANC. So maybe it's going to happen with another party.
Jeez. Rob, thanks for the conversation.
Thanks, Pen.
Is there anything else you want to
I just wanted to...
people need to know that you're capturing me for real.
No, I haven't...
Once I get the money, we're not going to show it on camera. That's going to be behind...
I haven't read this yet, so I went and bought myself and yourself a copy. I think I've heard it's worth a read. And
the song is Zibi, Manifesto, a new vision for South Africa.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a read.
It's come highly recommended. I've heard a lot of people speaking about it. So this you'd say is probably currently the book for people that want to get politically literate and be more informed about where the country's going and how we should be thinking.
So what he's done is not criticizing. He's saying this is the way forward.
Okay.
And I've taken a lot of heat for being too critical without giving the answers. But here's a solution. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to.
Rob, thank you so much.
Thanks, Pen.
Really looking forward to having more conversations.
I'd love to.
Looking forward to collaborating with more people. People like Gayton, people like Ian Cameron, people like Musi as well, and everyone who is looking to do their bit to make this country better. Because unlike you and your white privilege,
just call it privilege.
Some people don't have a choice. This is the only home they have.
Yeah.
And those of us who are privileged and who could potentially leave the country, the least we could do is try and make sure that their home is decent. But thanks a lot.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Rob.